on this stream from time to time, there's a certain phrase that we've been saying, and I've only recently started to get into it because the levels of degeneracy have just gotten to a point where I don't even know how I can handle it besides making an analogy to something so incredibly devastating to just humankind, because that's what really this is. It's called critical cringe. It harkens back to when a nuclear reactor goes critical, like Chernobyl, like Fukushima, and just explodes, like raining down radioactive particles. When I woke up yesterday, I've heard my Geiger counter that I keep in my closet go off. You know, it started to do the tick, 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 you know, it started to make sounds of like, what is that? And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? It started to go off. It was going crazy because there was radioactive fallout from critical cringe on the Bird app. I have to tell you, what you're about to see is not for the faint of heart. If there are children in the room, if there are dogs, if there are young men even, and women who are pregnant, all right, this is not good for you. I highly advise you to leave at this point in time. I'm giving you a warning because this is bad. Paul Joseph Watson tweeted, and he said, it's time to seriously ask the question, is Nick Fuentes the Rosa Parks of the 21st century? Now I know it's bad. It's bad. It's really bad, actually. And the more I look at it, the worse it keeps getting. Did it get ratioed? Someone probably ratioed it at some point in time, but we didn't. But I didn't see it. I wasn't looking for it. Okay, I was just in pure shock. All right, I had to run to my local hospital for radioactive treatment because this was bad. But the real question is, what is he talking about? What do you want about, man? What are you talking about, dude? And I had no clue, but Paul did. And you know who else did? Glenn Greenwald. Now, Glenn Greenwald is one of those sorts of people that people promise, they beg to you that they were cool at one point in time, but they're definitely not cool now. Glenn Greenwald also tweeted out, read old ACLU on how no-fly list is one of the worst and most abusive assaults on the war on terror and the core civil liberties, no matter who it's aimed at. What are they talking about? Well, Nicholas J. Fuentes posted something recently, 2 days ago, actually. And on his profile, on his Twitter profile, for that miraculously he's not banned from, he posted this. Now, obviously, I can't really show his face. I don't want to get banned. He is banned. I have to try to not show his face at all. So I blurred out his face, but this is his account. And it says, so I'm on my way to a press conference to discuss how I've been banned from nearly all social media and tech services. So this is basically Nick Fuentes being like, I was on my way to go bitch and moan about how my white nationalism, how the consequences of my own actions have caught up with me. Can you imagine that, right? Going into entire presser, going to a whole conference chock full of people hotboxing COVID with each other to listen to Nick Fuentes talk about how, to listen to him cry over a microphone about how he's been banned from Facebook for the next 50 minutes. Can you even imagine that? Anyways, then I find out that I can't even get there because I've been put on a no-fly list. This is overt political prosecution. America is not a free country. It's falling apart, dude. What's happening, man? So Nick Fuentes says he's been put on the no-fly list and there's nothing that can happen. But those weren't the only people who were a little upset about this. Everyone's favorite, extremely not unhinged, and extremely nowhere near a white nationalist talking head, Tucker Carlson, even wanted to chime in on this a little bit.
Really? The worst?
Oh, whoops. Actually, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong clip. Whoopsie. Oops. Wrong. Whoops, wrong clip. Wait, no. Oh, no.
There are reports tonight that a number of American citizens, including Americans who were at the Trump rally in January, the perfectly legal Trump rally in Washington in January, have been placed by this administration on the no-fly list, meaning they cannot fly domestically. We have not been able to confirm that. But if it's true, this is a turning point in American history.
So yes, we have literally no clue if it's true. But I'm just going to make a whole segment and fearmonger to my audience about it anyways, because that's what responsible people do. So it really looks like, honestly, at this point in time, that Nick Fuentes has he's being persecuted by the Biden administration. They're closing down on his free speech laws. He is weaponizing he's weaponizing the airports to stop him from spreading his free speech in the word of love of white people. And he had to go to the last bastions that he had left to make a cry for help. He made a cry for help. Or was it? Because upon closer inspection, it really seems like this cry for help looks a lot like a cry for attention. Fuentes has actually had a lot of things to say about the airports ever since the January 6th, right at the Capitol. Actually, a little bit before that as well. We can go over that. I want to go over that a little bit with you guys, okay? Everyone remembers everyone's favorite Nick Fuentes tweet. I think I'm about to get kicked off of my flight to PA because my mask isn't covering my nose. Yup, just got kicked off. Here's the best. I never refused to wear a mask, but the flight attendant had the plane go back to the gate and had me removed because of my attitude. Power trip. I got up and looked him in the eyes and said, "Hey, fuck you." He replies, "Enjoy your time in Chicago." I said, "Yeah, eat shit." And everyone clapped. So Nick Fuentes has actually been having a little bit of a kerfuffle with some of the people at airports recently, and it seems like this may have something to do with it, actually. Would you look at this? So I had a video. Once again, I can't play this guy talking. I can't play this guy anything. I can't even show pictures of him on this platform. But what I can do is show you what he said. So Nick, I had there was a segment from his America First stream where he talked a little bit about his feelings towards some of the flight attendants when he's going to and from his talking meetings of crying about being banned off platforms. So it starts like this: something homosexuals. I've never seen anything else. Excuse me. He goes on to imitate the said homosexual. Excuse me, could you put your mask on? And then he goes on to say, "Yeah, let me tell you, I'm gonna land. And then I'm gonna get to the airport parking lot. And I'm gonna wait for you. And then I'm gonna put a mask over your face, your mouth and nose. And you need to wear the mask even if you can't breathe." No, I'm just kidding. Do you think maybe some of the things that he had to say about some of the airport attendants just doing their job had to do with him maybe not being taken up for flights by private corporations who employ those attendees? This may have something to do with it. Maybe it was his attitude, Anybody ever think about that maybe he just kind of did this to themselves? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, even if he was necessarily put on a no-fly list, which once again, we can't necessarily confirm. He hasn't confirmed himself. I mean, would it be so wrong? Are they so wrong? Here's a little snippet from an article where Nick Fuentes, once again on the stream, says, he says, they should maybe, I guess, if there's nothing better to do, kill legislators that aren't pro-Trump in the efforts to win the 2020 election. Why? Because we had no leverage. What are we gonna do? What can you do? What can you and I do to a state legislator besides kill them? And then he went to the Capitol. They put up the gallows for Mike Pence. And, he's really talking about how, there's nothing more that we can do, guys. We just had to do it. But one thing that is extremely interesting about all of this is that Nick actually denied being on a no-fly list, period. even on top of that. Patrick Casey is someone that's been a Nick Fuentes associate for a very long time. Until, however, the Capitol 6 riot, where he actually distanced himself not only from Nick, but from the broader sort of Trumpian movement, and he just kind of nestled himself into the whole I'm a white nationalist, but I'm doing my own thing. I'm a lone wolf, okay? Casey's like the bad boy in the in the boy band with his back to the rest of the crew. You know what I'm saying? He's like that. He went on his own. And when he was distancing himself from Fuentes, he actually made a couple of accusations. Let's take a look. Casey leveled numerous allegations about Fuentes on the stream, including that he produced a cult-like atmosphere. Damn, that's crazy. Within the movement. In particular, Casey posited that Fuentes' bank accounts had been frozen and that he was traveling to Florida under the suspicion that he had been added to a federal no-fly list. However, he did not provide any evidence. Fuentes denies both charges. So Fuentes actually said, "Man, I'm not on the no-fly list. Don't lie about me like that. They wouldn't put me on the no-fly list. Me? No, never." So Fuentes, and mind you, if you would like to check out this article, here's the article from the ACLU. He accused me of being in a cult, this is the article right here. So if you would like to check out the article, you can go ahead and do it. It is all right there for you. He is not on a no-fly list. What he is probably being investigated by the feds. Because if you guys didn't know, I learned recently that the feds are investigating who funded the Capitol riot. Now, the peaceful protest outside before, that's all fine. But the riot itself, now, they're really wondering who paid people to be there, who put together the money to even get people there, for the people who were organizing for actual violence at the Capitol, for the people who put up the gallows, for the guys who brought the zip cuffs to start kidnapping legislatures. The people would like to figure out who did it. Well, Fuentes was actually one of a couple people to receive a couple dollars. And when I say a couple dollars, I mean around $250,000 in Bitcoin. On December 8th, the majority of 22 transactions went to Nick Fuentes, a far-right internet influencer who was in the crowd in Washington, but has denied being a part of the deadly mob that rioted the Capitol. He actually got $250,000 and he spread it, how he wanted. He was sent 28.15 Bitcoins from a French, a French, man, when the French send their people, they're really not sending their best. From a French programmer, totaling around $250,000. And he used that money to, get some people there. Even though he wasn't a part of the riot himself, the feds would really like to know where some of that money went. And they're thinking some of that money went to some of the people who went inside the Capitol. I mean, they know some of the people that Fuentes brought with him. I mean, you guys remember the picture very vividly of the people standing on the floor of the Senate with an AF blue flag, a flag owned by Fuentes. So all of this together, where are we now? Fuentes says he's on a no-fly list once it becomes politically convenient for him, once he knows that the feds are on his tracks. But before any of this really happened, he completely denied being a part of it at all. And if I'm going to be completely honest, if he is not allowed to fly, I think it's not from the malfeasance of the Biden administration cracking down on the civil liberties of civil Americans just expressing their political disagreements with. I think more likely than not, it's his several threats of violence towards workers of airlines that he just kind of keeps doing all of the time. For no good reason, for telling them to put a mask on. And then he does his r/this happened. I looked him right in his eyes. And I said, "Fuck you, man." And everyone clapped. He's a piece of shit. We all know this. And I think this is more likely than not a little boy who cried wolf. I think the consequences of his actions are starting to catch up with him, and he wants to do a little cry for help to get a lot of people on his side, when in all actuality, more likely than not, he's just been banned from being for being a piece of shit to airline workers, for service workers who they have to take enough garbage, period, for just working in customer service. If any of you guys have ever worked in customer service, I can tell you it's not that great with certain people, especially during COVID when it comes to wearing masks. More likely than not, he's just been banned from being on certain airlines because they don't want to deal with the shit anymore. And there's no possible way for you to ever know if you're on a no-fly list. You have no clue. All right? He's not even been approached by any feds. They didn't tell him anything. He just assumes so. Or he knows that he's lying. I don't put it past him. He is an entitled baby piece of shit who threw his shit like a small monkey, all right, trapped in a cage, the cage of having to wear a piece of fabric over his mouth for the 2-hour-long flight and then take it off once he's off board. And because of that, he threatened to strangle a flight attendant to death. He's probably not on a no-fly list. But if he is, or if he would be in the near future, from what he said and the things that he's been up to, I don't really think he doesn't deserve it, if I'm gonna be honest.